Hello, my amazing YouTube family. Welcome to Anime Dreams. I'm thrilled to have you here. Today's fanfic discussion is an exciting one. What if Naruko became an ANBU captain? But before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in this video. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without further ado, let's jump into this thrilling alternate universe. The village hidden in the leaves, one of the most powerful and respected villages in the shinobi world. Known for its strength, teamwork, and sense of unity, it had produced countless heroes and legends throughout history. The village prided itself on treating all its citizens and shinobi equally, without discrimination. However, not everyone experienced that sense of belonging. Among them was a young girl, just 5 years old, Naruko Uzumaki. She was the vessel of the nine-tailed fox, the fearsome creature that had attacked the village years ago. The devastation from that attack was immense. Countless shinobi had laid down their lives to protect their home, while many civilians suffered tragic losses. Entire sections of the village were reduced to ruins. In a final act of heroism, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, managed to subdue the beast, sealing it within a newborn child. He had hoped that this child would be seen as the village's savior, but reality was far from his wish. Now, years later, young Naruko found herself the target of hatred rather than gratitude. A group of villagers, both shinobi and civilians, had surrounded her, their eyes filled with resentment. She had bruises covering her small frame, and pain radiated through her body from injuries she could barely comprehend. Yet, the harshest wounds came not from their attacks, but from their words. "Monster! You took everything from us. Demon!" Tears welled in Naruko's eyes as she clutched her aching body. "Why do you hate me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What did I do?" A shinobi in the crowd sneered before performing a series of hand signs. "You dare ask what you've done? Let me show you." Demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. Naruko's vision blurred as swirling leaves engulfed her, dragging her into a terrifying illusion. When her sight cleared, she found herself in a battlefield, a horrifying scene from the past. Shinobi clashed with a monstrous, towering fox, its 9 tails lashing out and reducing everything to rubble. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and blood, the screams of the injured echoing around her. Everywhere she turned, she saw destruction, fear, and despair. "Please make it stop," Naruko cried, covering her ears. "I'm sorry, please, stop." Her desperate pleas only fueled the satisfaction of the mob, who now saw their chance to rid themselves of what they believed to be their village's curse. "End it now," a civilian shouted, and the others cheered in agreement. A volley of kunai and shuriken was launched at the trembling girl. Clang! 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 The weapons never reached her. A squad of masked figures intercepted them, their movements swift and precise. Standing at the forefront was the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. His presence alone sent waves of dread through the attackers. A suffocating pressure filled the air, and many villagers found themselves frozen in place, some even collapsing from the sheer intensity of his gaze. Hiruzen looked down at Naruko, pain and guilt flickering in his aged eyes. He had done his best to honor the fourth Hokage's wishes, to protect the girl and give her a chance at a normal life. But time and time again, the village's hatred had made it impossible. Even so, he would not allow this cruelty to continue. "You have broken the law," Hiruzen declared, his voice like steel. "Attempting to harm an innocent child will not be tolerated." With a single motion, he signaled the ANBU to take action. The masked shinobi moved swiftly, ensuring that those responsible faced the consequences of their actions. Once the situation was under control, Hiruzen knelt beside Naruko and carefully lifted her small, injured form. His heart ached as he examined her wounds. "Let's take her to the hospital," he said, his tone softer now. "Forgive me, Minato." A masked kunoichi, known by her codename Nico, stepped forward and nodded. Understood, Hokage-sama. Among the ANBU, there were those who understood the truth, that Naruko was not the monster the villagers feared, but simply a child, undeserving of the cruelty she endured. They had done their best to protect her from the shadows, but today, they had been too late. Before leaving, Hiruzen gave one last order. Find Kakashi and tell him to meet me at the hospital. If he's late, I'll demote him to Jinan, assign him to catch Tora for months, and personally set fire to his entire Icha collection. A faint smirk tugged at Nico's lips before she disappeared in a blur, off to deliver the message. If Hiruzen had listened closely, he might have caught the amusement in her tone. Konoha Hospital, 2 hours later. Inside a quiet hospital room, 3 individuals sat in silence. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Kakashi Hatake, and Dr. Misumi surrounded a sleeping child, Naruko Uzumaki, who was wrapped in bandages. "How is she?" Kakashi asked, his voice laced with concern. Kakashi had a deep connection to Naruko's parents. Her father, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, had been not only his sensei but also the closest thing he had to a father figure. He had always wanted to care for Naruko, but the village council had blocked him from doing so, a decision he had regretted ever since. He had tried to be there for her, but his frequent missions had kept him away. Now, seeing Naruko in this state filled him with frustration and guilt. If the ones responsible hadn't already been dealt with by the Hokage, Kakashi wasn't sure he could have restrained himself. She has a few broken bones, a mild concussion, and severe bruising, Dr. Misumi explained sympathetically. Hiruzen frowned. How long will her recovery take? His voice carried an undertone of anger at what had happened. Physically, her injuries will heal within hours, thanks to her unique chakra, but that's not the real issue, Misumi said with a heavy sigh. She despised cruelty, especially when directed at children, regardless of their circumstances. Kakashi tensed. What do you mean? The genjutsu used on her has left deep emotional scars. Naruko is experiencing immense psychological distress. Hokage-sama. I'm afraid she won't be the same after this, Misumi admitted. Is there anything we can do? Can we erase her memories of the event? Kakashi asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Misumi shook her head. Even if we could, it wouldn't change the years of mistreatment she has endured. She has been shunned, ridiculed, and attacked for as long as she can remember. This incident was the final blow, it shattered the last bit of hope she had. She was forced to relive her worst nightmares repeatedly. Hiruzen and Kakashi lowered their heads, guilt weighing heavily on their shoulders. They had both failed to protect her. Hokage-sama, she can't be left alone any longer. If she remains in this environment, it could push her beyond recovery. What she needs now is a family, people who genuinely care for her, who can offer the warmth and security that every child deserves. It's the only way she can begin to heal. Hiruzen exhaled slowly. I understand. Thank you, Misumi-san. You're dismissed. The doctor gave a respectful bow before leaving the room, leaving Hiruzen and Kakashi alone with their thoughts. After a moment of silence, Kakashi clenched his fists. Hokage-sama, I want to adopt Naruko. She has suffered long enough. I made a promise to Minato-sensei that I would protect her like a younger sibling, and I have failed time and time again. But not anymore. If the council has a problem with it, they can deal with me. Hiruzen gave him a firm nod. I agree, Kakashi. Naruko needs a family, and I will support your decision. But first, we must ask her. If she agrees, I'll handle the council. Most of the clan leaders will support us, and as for the elders and civilian council, I will remind them why I am the Hokage. His voice carried unwavering resolve. Thank you, Lord Third, Kakashi said, bowing slightly in gratitude. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft voice. Where am I? Both men turned to see Naruko slowly opening her eyes, her gaze clouded with exhaustion. Hiruzen stepped closer, his expression gentle. I'm relieved to see you awake, Naruko-chan. You're in the hospital. I see, she murmured, her voice devoid of emotion. Hiruzen immediately noticed the sadness in her expression. Naruko, what's wrong? The young girl hesitated before looking up at him. Gigi. Why do they hate me? She whispered. Hiruzen's heart ached at her words. Naruko, I promise to tell you everything when you're older. No, she said firmly, her blue eyes locked onto his. I want to know now. I'm tired of being called a monster, of being shunned and hurt. I deserve to know the truth. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Without thinking, Hiruzen pulled her into a gentle embrace, offering what comfort he could. All right, Naruko, he said softly. I will tell you the truth. He pulled back slightly to look into her eyes. What do you know about the Nine Tails attack 5 years ago? The fourth Hokage defeated it, Naruko said, her voice carrying a hint of admiration. He killed the Nine Tails and saved the village. Hiruzen sighed. He did defeat the Nine Tails, but he couldn't kill it. No human can. Even Minato, despite his power, couldn't destroy the beast. So, he did the only thing possible. He sealed it inside me, didn't he? Naruko interrupted. Both Hiruzen and Kakashi froze in shock. How? How do you know that? Hiruzen asked, his voice barely above a whisper. It's not that difficult to understand, Gigi. I was born on October 10th, the same day the Kyuubi attacked the village. The villagers call me names like Demon and Fox, among others. I also have a strange seal on my stomach, which I've seen before. And the nightmares. They always seem to be about the Kyuubi's attack. Now that you've explained the Yondaime couldn't actually destroy it, everything finally makes sense. But why, Gigi? Why me? Naruko asked, her voice tinged with sadness as a few tears slipped down her cheeks. The two men in the room were stunned by how accurately she had pieced everything together. She truly is your child, sensei. I won't fail you again. Kakashi thought, both impressed by Naruko's deduction and by her ability to remain composed despite the truth she had just uncovered. Hiruzen took a moment to gather his thoughts before stepping forward, placing a reassuring hand on Naruko's shoulder. Naruko, the Yondaime never intended to burden you with this fate. He had no other choice. In order to protect the village, he sealed the Kyuubi within you. But it was never meant to make you suffer. His greatest wish was for you to be seen as a hero, someone who safeguarded the village. Unfortunately, the people have not honored that wish, and for that, I am deeply sorry. As for why he chose you, it's because he believed in you. He trusted only you with this responsibility. The Yondaime believed in me? Naruko asked, eyes wide with shock. The very man she had idolized, the village's greatest hero, had placed his trust in her. Yes, Naruko. He had faith in you, Hiruzen affirmed with a kind smile. Naruko swallowed, hesitating for a moment before speaking again. Gigi, can you tell me who my parents were? She asked, hope flickering in her bright blue eyes. Hiruzen sighed softly. I promise I will tell you when you're older. However, if you choose to become a ninja and reach the Chunin rank, I will reveal everything. But even if you decide not to follow that path, I will still tell you one day. Their identities must remain a secret for now. But I can assure you, Naruko, they loved you deeply. If they were still here, they would never have left your side. Naruko bit her lip, clearly wishing for a different answer but choosing to trust him. I understand. I believe you, Gigi. I just wish I had a family, she admitted, averting her gaze. You do have a family, Naruko, a new voice spoke up. Naruko turned, looking up at the young man who had just placed a hand on her shoulder. He was tall, standing at an impressive height of 6 feet 1 inch. He wore the standard Konoha shinobi attire, his forehead protector tilted slightly so that the cloth covered his left eye. The lower half of his face was obscured by a dark blue mask. His most distinct features were his unruly silver hair and the single black eye visible from behind his headband. He was clad in a green jounin vest with numerous pockets, a dark blue undershirt that covered his arms and shoulders, and fingerless black gloves reinforced with metal plating. His pants were also a deep blue, with his lower legs wrapped in bandages, and his feet secured in the standard open-toed shinobi sandals. His left shoulder proudly bore the red spiral insignia of the Uzumaki clan. "My name is Kakashi Hatake," he introduced himself with a warm expression visible even through his mask. "And I would like to adopt you, Naruko." Naruko's eyes widened in surprise. "Why would you do that?" she asked warily. Kakashi knelt down slightly, meeting her gaze. "I won't lie to you. I knew your parents, they were like family to me. From the moment you were born, I wanted to take care of you and raise you. But the village council prevented me from doing so. However, thanks to Sandaime-sama, I now have the opportunity to give you the family you deserve. I know I haven't been there for you before, but I want to make things right. If you don't want me to adopt you, I will understand, and I won't force you. But I hope you'll give me a chance." Naruko clenched her fists, her heart pounding as she processed his words. "If I agree, will you ever abandon me? Do you truly care about me, or are you only doing this out of guilt? Are you just adopting me because you knew my parents?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Kakashi's expression softened. "Naruko, I am not doing this out of pity. I genuinely care about you. You are like the little sister I never had. I want to be there for you, not because of your parents, but because you matter to me." Naruko stared at him, searching for any hint of deception. Finding none, she felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel so alone. "Arigato, Kakashi-ni-san," she whispered, a small smile forming on her lips. Kakashi returned the smile, his eye crinkling with warmth. "So, Naruko, do you accept?" Hiruzen asked gently. Naruko took a deep breath, then nodded. "Hi," she said softly, her heart finally feeling at ease. "Naruko, would you like to keep your Uzumaki surname, or would you prefer to take Kakashi's family name? Either choice is perfectly fine. You can always decide later if you wish to change it," Hiruzen said with a warm smile, while Kakashi gave an approving nod. "I would like to take Kakashi Niazen's name," Naruko replied cheerfully, bringing a look of satisfaction to Kakashi's face. "Minato-sensei, Obito, Rin. I finally have a family. I won't disappoint you," Kakashi thought to himself. "Gigi, I want to become a ninja and protect the village," Naruko declared with determination. Both Hiruzen and Kakashi exchanged smiles before Hiruzen nodded. "Naruko, you'll be moving into Kakashi's home, and soon, you'll be starting at the Ninja Academy. Kakashi will help guide your training. But tell me, what is your dream?" Hiruzen asked, his curiosity piqued. Naruko's eyes sparkled with determination. "I want to be a ninja so I can protect the village. The fourth Hokage believed in me, and I want to prove that his trust was well placed. As for my dream, I want to join the ANBU." Hiruzen and Kakashi were both taken aback by her words. "Why the ANBU?" Hiruzen asked with interest. "The ANBU are the elite protectors of the village. They earn respect, and they don't treat me differently. They never looked at me with fear or hatred. They're strong, disciplined. And honestly, they seem really cool. I want to be like them," Naruko explained passionately. Kakashi's expression turned serious. "That's an admirable goal, Naruko, but it won't be easy. The ANBU undergo some of the most difficult training in the village. If you truly want this, you'll have to work harder than ever." Naruko grinned confidently. "I won't let you down, Niazen." Hiruzen chuckled, pleased to see Naruko's spirit shining through. It reassured him that having a family was already helping her heal. Then, Naruko hesitated for a moment before speaking carefully. "Gigi, Niazen. There's something I need to talk about." Kakashi looked at her with curiosity. "What is it?" Naruko took a deep breath. "I know that some villagers don't like me, and I understand that it will take time to prove that I'm not what they think I am. but there might still be some who try to harm me again. And I'm not strong enough to defend myself against trained shinobi." Hiruzen's expression darkened slightly, knowing there was truth in her words. While today's events might deter further hostility for a while, there were still those who held resentment toward her. "I have a solution," Kakashi said, reaching into his vest. He pulled out a black face mask and tossed it to Naruko. She caught it swiftly, and the pure joy on her face was unmistakable. Seeing her excitement warmed Kakashi's heart, but at the same time, it saddened both him and Hiruzen. It was clear this was one of the first gifts she had ever received. "Thank you, Niazan." Naruko beamed, immediately putting on the mask. Hiruzen stepped forward and patted her gently on the back. "From this day on, you are Naruko Hatake. Grow strong, uphold your values, and be a shinobi who brings pride to the village." Naruko's smile was radiant as she stood tall. "Yes. I will." Time skip, 6 months. 6 months had passed since Naruko was adopted by Kakashi. This period had been a completely new chapter in her life. She had come to understand that Kakashi was a calm and composed individual, though he had a lazy streak and an unusual fondness for his Icha novels. While Naruko didn't necessarily dislike the books, she certainly didn't share his enthusiasm for reading them all the time. Unlike Kakashi, she was far from lazy, she was always eager to train. Over time, Naruko also learned more about Kakashi's past. She discovered that he had lost teammates who had been incredibly dear to him, and he had developed different ways to cope with his pain. His reading habits were just one of those coping mechanisms. Naruko's own life had undergone a drastic transformation. She was no longer the loud and impulsive child who constantly sought attention. Thanks to Kakashi's guidance, and many books on human psychology, she had begun to understand the importance of self-control. A true shinobi, she learned, must assess situations carefully, manage emotions, and remain calm under pressure. Kakashi had taken her training seriously. He taught her the fundamentals of chakra and guided her in mastering the use of shuriken and kunai. She had also begun practicing chakra control techniques, including tree walking, water walking, and leaf balancing. However, her training was particularly challenging due to her immense chakra reserves, a result of being a Jinchuriki. Most villagers had come to believe that Naruko had disappeared since she was rarely seen without her mask. It was one habit she had adopted entirely from Kakashi. When someone did recognize her and displayed hostility, she remained composed and chose not to react. This attitude discouraged further conflict, and over time, people simply ignored her, which was far better than open aggression. What she didn't know was that there had been a few attempts to harm her, but Kakashi and the Hokage had intervened before she ever became aware of them. But today was different. Naruko was at Training Ground 7, practicing her shuriken throws while waiting for Kakashi. She knew her adoptive brother would be late, as usual, so she decided to make use of the time. Her accuracy was improving, and she was hitting most of her targets with ease. Suddenly, 2 figures arrived at the training ground. Naruko turned to see them, 2 ANBU operatives, their faces concealed behind masks. However, their masks were different from those of the standard ANBU, they were completely blank. Naruko Hatake, the ANBU on the left, spoke in a neutral tone. "Huh?" Naruko blinked in confusion as 2 masked figures from the ANBU unit appeared before her, their presence unexpected and unnerving. Their gaze locked onto her, their posture tense. Before she could ask why they were there, the 2 suddenly lunged at her, their movements swift and precise. Naruko barely had time to react as she dodged just in time, though not without consequence. Her mask was grazed, a thin scratch marking its surface. It was only thanks to the training she had received from Kakashi that she managed to evade the attack. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice laced with shock and frustration. The ANBU members remained silent, their expressions unreadable behind their masks. Instead of responding, an intense, suffocating pressure filled the air around them. It was unlike anything Naruko had ever felt before, a presence so overwhelming that her body tensed involuntarily, her heart hammering in her chest. Despite the unease gripping her, she forced herself to move. With trembling hands, She reached into her pouch, retrieving a kunai. She had faced hostility from the villagers in the past, but this was something far more intense, something she couldn't fully comprehend. A strange, sharp sensation flickered through her vision, making her wince. The two ANBU members sprang into action again. One moved to strike from the front with a sweeping motion, while the other leapt into the air, poised to land a decisive blow. Time slowed around Naruko. She could see everything in perfect detail, the shifting of the leaves, the precise angles of the incoming attacks. To anyone else, the ANBU would have appeared as blurs of motion, but to her, their movements were clear, almost predictable. I can't move. What's happening? I can't, no, I won't stop here. I have to keep going. Her thoughts swirled in panic, but deep within her, something urged her to act. Without thinking, she flipped backward, narrowly avoiding the strike. The ANBU continued their pursuit, one attempting a diagonal slash toward her. But before the attack could land, something unexpected happened. Naruko's body moved on instinct. The next moment, the ANBU halted, eyes wide in shock. His posture stiffened as he looked down at a kunai in Naruko's grip, its tip pressed just inches away from his armor. He staggered back, his breath unsteady, before disappearing in a swirl of smoke, a clone. Naruko remained frozen in place, her hands trembling. Had she really done that? Her breathing was uneven as she tried to process what had just happened. The remaining ANBU was momentarily caught off guard but quickly prepared for another attack. Just as he advanced, a flicker of movement appeared behind him. In a flash, a figure emerged, a streak of electricity crackling in the air. Before the ANBU could react, he was swiftly immobilized, the energy forcing him to stand still. A familiar voice broke the tension. "You're not alone, Naruko. Stay focused." Naruko exhaled deeply, relief washing over her as she steadied herself. She didn't know exactly what had happened just now, but one thing was certain, she had unlocked something within herself. And whatever it was, she had to learn how to control it. Reikiri. Kakashi had just returned from his visit to the memorial stone when he sensed a surge of intense energy coming from the training grounds. Concerned, he rushed toward the source and was stunned to find Naruko standing over an unconscious ANBU agent, her hands trembling. Before he could fully process the situation, another masked figure lunged toward her. Reacting instantly, Kakashi activated his Reikiri, swiftly intercepting the attacker. He didn't pause to examine the aftermath, instead, he rushed to Naruko's side. Without hesitation, he pulled her into a reassuring embrace, gently patting her back. At the sight of him, Naruko's resolve crumbled, and she broke into tears. After a few moments, her sobs subsided, and she looked up at him with troubled eyes. "Ni-san. I hurt him. What if I'm a terrible person?" Naruko's voice trembled with regret. Kakashi was about to reassure her when he noticed something unusual. Her once bright sapphire eyes had shifted to a deep crimson hue, two black tomoe forming within them. His breath caught in his throat. How does she have the Sharingan? Kakashi thought in shock, unable to believe what he was witnessing. He quickly composed himself. "It's okay, Naruko. You were just protecting yourself. But I need you to tell me exactly what happened." His voice was calm and reassuring. Naruko hesitated but then nodded, recounting everything that had transpired. By the time she finished, Kakashi's usual laid-back demeanor had disappeared. His sharp mind pieced together the truth: these ANBU were under Danzo's command. A flicker of anger sparked within him, but he forced himself to stay composed. This was something he needed to discuss with the Hokage. But first, he needed to take care of Naruko. "Let's go to Ichiraku's. You can talk to me there, and I'll treat you to as much ramen as you want today," Kakashi said with a smile, hoping to lift her spirits. "But before that, stop channeling chakra into your eyes." Naruko blinked in confusion but obeyed, her eyes slowly returning to their usual blue. "Okay," she murmured, still deep in thought. Maybe some ramen and time with Ni-san will help, she thought, still feeling the weight of the situation. Kakashi let out a quiet sigh of relief. She hadn't noticed the change in her eyes yet. Dash. Ichiraku ramen. At Ichiraku's, Kakashi quietly observed as Naruko ate her ramen, engaging in light-hearted conversation with Ayame, who had picked up on her distress and was making an effort to cheer her up with a few jokes. The familiar warmth of the small ramen stand, along with the friendly faces of Ayame and Tucci, helped ease some of Naruko's unease. After polishing off 10 bowls of ramen, Naruko seemed slightly more at ease. Kakashi had reassured her that she had only acted in self-defense and that what happened was not her fault, it was an accident. While Naruko still carried some guilt, it no longer weighed as heavily on her. As Kakashi paid for their meal and they prepared to leave, Naruko suddenly felt someone wrap their arms around her from behind. Startled, she turned to see Ayame hugging her warmly, with Tucci smiling gently at her. "Naru-chan, please take care of yourself. We're always here for you," Ayame said softly, her voice filled with genuine warmth. Then, with a kind smile, she lightly pulled down Naruko's scarf and placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. Naruko's face turned red as she blinked in surprise. Ayame had always been kind to her, like an older sister, and she deeply cherished both her and Tucci. Alongside the Hokage and Kakashi, they were among the few people in the village who truly cared for her. "Thank you. Nei-chan," Naruko said softly, hugging Ayame back as a single tear escaped down her cheek. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Tucci smiled warmly as they observed the bond between the siblings. After a few moments, Naruko regained her composure, though a rosy tint still dusted her cheeks as she lightly touched the spot where Ayame's lipstick had left a mark. "Aw, you two look adorable together. For a moment, it almost seemed like you were a couple," Tucci teased playfully. Naruko's face turned an even deeper shade of red, while Ayame's own cheeks took on a soft pink hue. "I wouldn't mind that. What about you, Naruko-chan?" Ayame whispered mischievously into Naruko's ear. The comment sparked different reactions from those around them. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in amusement. Tucci was momentarily stunned by his daughter's remark before chuckling, but the most flustered of them all was Naruko, whose blush intensified dramatically. What?" Naruko stammered after a brief pause. "I'm hurt. Are you saying I'm not good enough for you?" Ayame pouted playfully. No. That's not what I meant, Ayame-chan. You're so kind, beautiful, and caring," Naruko blurted out before abruptly covering her mouth, realizing what she had just said. The others burst into laughter at her innocent response, while Ayame's blush deepened slightly. "Looks like you still have a lot to learn, little sister." "Here," Kakashi said cheerfully, attempting to hand Naruko his Icha book. Before he could even blink, Ayame swiftly snatched the book from his hands, tore it into pieces, and then pointed a kunai dangerously close to Kakashi's leg. "My precious," Kakashi gasped in horror, watching his beloved book get destroyed. "Kakashi, if you ever try to expose my dear Naru-chan to that inappropriate material, you'll regret it," Ayame warned with a sweet yet unmistakably menacing tone. "You understood," Kakashi replied nervously, feeling the subtle but firm pressure of a blade near a rather sensitive area. "Whoa, she's intense. Looks like I'll have to be more discreet with my reading." "What a shame," Tucci thought to himself, suppressing a sigh. Note to self, never read Icha around women. "Too much trouble," Naruko mentally noted, a hint of unease creeping in. Somewhere in the village, 2 members of the Nara clan sneezed in sync. "Good," Ayame said with a bright smile, as if she hadn't just delivered a chilling warning moments ago. The 3 men collectively sweat-dropped at her sudden shift in mood. 1 second, she was issuing threats, and the next, she was as cheerful as ever. Troublesome women, Naruko, Kakashi, and Tucci all thought at the same time. Elsewhere, the 2 Naras sneezed again. Someone out there must be dealing with a troublesome woman right now, they both mused in unison. Before the conversation could continue, Kakashi quickly took Naruko by the hand and led her away from the ramen stand, prioritizing his own well-being. Dash. After a short walk, they arrived at a small playground. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the area. Kakashi still needed to report today's events to the Hokage. "Naruko, why don't you go play with those kids over there? It could be fun," Kakashi suggested, pointing to a group of 4 boys around her age. "Are you sure, Nisan? What if they don't want me around?" Naruko asked hesitantly, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Kakashi frowned, reminded of how much rejection she had faced over the years. But he wasn't going to let that continue. "I'm sure. Just give it a try, I'll be back in an hour after I speak with the Hokage," he reassured her before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. "I really need to learn how to do that," Naruko thought with a small chuckle. In the playground, 4 boys were gathered in different spots, though they weren't all playing together. The first boy had spiky, dark brown hair tied up in a short ponytail and seemed to be lazily watching the clouds. His sharp, angular features gave him a relaxed but observant look. Next to him sat a slightly chubby boy with light brown hair, happily munching on a bag of chips. A third boy was playing with a small puppy. He had 2 distinctive marks on his cheeks, slightly pointed teeth, and wild brown hair. The last boy sat slightly apart from the others, his face partially hidden behind a pair of dark sunglasses, and he wore a light gray jacket. Taking a deep breath, Naruko approached them cautiously. Years of rejection had made her wary, but she still held on to hope. "Who are you?" the boy with the puppy asked, tilting his head curiously. "I'm Naruko Hatake. Can I join you?" she asked hesitantly. "Of course. I'm Kuji Akimichi," Kuji responded cheerfully, offering her a handful of chips, which she happily accepted. "I'm Inuzuka Kiba, and this is Akamaru," the boy with the puppy said with a grin. His little companion barked in greeting. "Nara Shikamaru," the boy with the ponytail introduced himself, though he eyed Naruko curiously. "What's with the mask?" Shikamaru wondered, noting the cloth covering the lower half of her face. "Nice to meet you all. Hey, you over there, what's your name?" Naruko called out to the boy with the sunglasses. At first, he seemed surprised that she had addressed him directly, especially since most kids tended to shy away from him when they noticed the small insects crawling on his skin. But when no one in the group reacted negatively, he stepped forward. "Aburame Shino," he replied in a calm, even tone. "Naruko Hatake. It's great to meet people from 4 different Konoha clans," she said enthusiastically. "You know about our clans?" Kuji asked in surprise. Naruko nodded. "Yeah. My big brother taught me. You're from the Akimichi clan, known for your incredible physical strength and expertise in creating powerful food pills. Your clan also owns several restaurants in Konoha." Kuji beamed at the accurate description. Naruko turned to Shikamaru. "You're from the Nara clan, one of the most intelligent clans in the village. Your family specializes in strategic thinking and medical knowledge, especially in the development of advanced medicines." Shikamaru raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Next, she looked at Kiba. "Your family, the Inuzuka clan, is one of the top tracking clans in Konoha. You and your Ninken partners have incredible tracking abilities and are highly skilled in close combat." Kiba grinned proudly, while Akamaru barked in approval. Finally, she turned to Shino. "Your clan, the Aburame, uses Kikaiku bugs for tracking and capturing targets. Your clan members are known for their logical thinking and are among the best trackers in the village, alongside the Inuzuka and the Hyuga." All 4 boys stared at Naruko in awe. Kuji was relieved that she hadn't called him fat, unlike some kids. Shikamaru found himself more interested in this mysterious girl who knew so much. Kiba and Akamaru were delighted that she acknowledged their skills, and Shino was intrigued. She hadn't flinched at his insects and had even praised his clan's abilities. "Whoa! You know so much about us. Now tell us about yourself," Shikamaru said, curiosity evident in his voice. "Let's make it interesting. How about a race? If you manage to beat me, I'll tell you everything you want to know," Naruko said with a confident smirk. "I know how laid back you Nara clan members are. You're not going to get information about me that easily," she thought, her smirk widening. This is such a hassle, Shikamaru muttered with a yawn. Sounds fun, Choji said cheerfully. You're on. I'll definitely beat you, Naruko. Kiba declared loudly, his companion Akamaru barking excitedly in agreement. I accept your challenge, Naruko-san, Shino stated in his usual calm tone. Just Naruko is fine, Shino. What do you all say, friends? Naruko asked, extending her hand toward them. Friends, they all agreed in unison, shaking hands with one another. I finally have real friends, Naruko thought happily. Little did she know that these boys would become her closest companions, standing by her side through every challenge life had in store. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi observed the entire interaction through his crystal ball, a warm smile gracing his face. When Kakashi initially reported the incident, he had been deeply concerned. However, with no concrete evidence against Danzo, especially since the attackers' bodies had been destroyed by the seals on them, he had no choice but to let the matter rest, though he would remain vigilant. Seeing Naruko form genuine friendships filled him with hope. Perhaps the village will one day fully accept her, he thought optimistically. She finally has people she can rely on, Kakashi said with a small smile. Indeed. The will of fire burns brightly in them, they are the future of the village, Hiruzen said wisely. Kakashi, however, still had lingering questions. Hokage-sama, I still don't understand, how does Naruko have the Sharingan? He asked, his curiosity evident. Hiruzen sighed before replying, you're mistaken, Kakashi. She didn't just acquire it, Naruko is a direct descendant of the Uchiha clan. She has simply awakened what was always her birthright. Kakashi's eyes widened. What? He asked in shock. It is the truth, Hiruzen confirmed. But Hokage-sama, Naruko's mother was an Uzumaki, not an Uchiha. And Minato-sensei was an orphan, Kakashi pointed out. Hiruzen nodded. That is true, Kushina was not of Uchiha descent. However, the same cannot be said for Minato. Kakashi felt a sense of unease creeping in. I have a bad feeling about this, he thought warily, beginning to suspect where this conversation was headed. Kakashi, what I'm about to tell you is one of Konoha's most closely guarded secrets. Only Jiraiya and I know the full truth. But since you are Naruko's guardian, and you've already uncovered parts of it, I will tell you everything. This is an SS rank secret, and I trust you understand the consequences of revealing it? Hiruzen said sternly. Kakashi immediately nodded. Tell me, Kakashi, what do you know about Minato's parents? Hiruzen asked seriously. Minato-sensei was an orphan. His parents died in the Second Shinobi World War, Kakashi answered simply. Hiruzen nodded again. That is correct. However, the crucial detail lies in who his parents actually were. Kakashi hesitated before asking, who were they? Yamato Namikaze and Rei Uchiha, Hiruzen revealed, stunning Kakashi. That explains why Minato-sensei understood Obito better than I did, Kakashi thought in surprise. Rei Uchiha? Kakashi asked, still processing the information. Not many people knew of her identity, as she was banished from the Uchiha clan, Hiruzen explained. Why was she banished, Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked curiously. Hiruzen sighed. Because of her lineage. Kakashi frowned. What lineage? Hiruzen's expression turned solemn. She was the daughter of Izuna Uchiha. Kakashi froze in shock. Izuna Uchiha? But he was Madara Uchiha's younger brother. Hiruzen nodded grimly. That's correct. Kakashi remained silent, stunned by the revelation. So that means Naruko is the great-grandniece of Madara Uchiha? Kakashi asked hesitantly. Hiruzen gave a slow nod. That is correct. Kakashi took a deep breath, realizing that Naruko's destiny was far more complicated than he had ever imagined. Hi. Izuna passed away during the turbulent era of war, long before the Hidden Leaf Village was established by the Uchiha and Senju clans. Hiruzen began, his voice calm yet solemn. When Madara chose to leave the village, his niece, Rei, was cast out by the Uchiha. Over time, she found companionship with a young Jounin, Yamato Namikaze, the head of the Namikaze clan and father of Minato. At that time, the Namikaze were not widely known or particularly influential. However, Rei and Yamato fell in love and eventually married in secret. I was the only one aware of their union since I was the Hokage. He paused briefly before continuing. Tragically, during the Second Great Ninja War, they lost their lives, leaving Minato orphaned. Hiruzen took a slow puff from his pipe, his expression growing more serious. In order to protect Minato from the Uchiha clan, his true lineage was kept a secret. Only Jiraiya, Minato, Kushina, and I knew the truth. Additionally, since Minato never awakened the Sharingan, no one ever suspected his Uchiha heritage. Kakashi's visible eye widened in shock. So that means Naruko is a descendant of the Namikaze, Uchiha, and Uzumaki clans? Hiruzen nodded. Yes. And this truth must remain hidden until Naruko is old enough to fully understand its implications. I don't need to explain what would happen if the Uchiha discovered this. They would demand Naruko be brought into their clan, possibly to use her as a tool for their own purposes, just as Danzo has attempted with others in the past. The Uchiha have already been acting suspiciously as of late. His last words were spoken in a low mutter, barely audible. Kakashi frowned. I understand. But what should we do now? For now, you must train her in using the Sharingan discreetly. If she asks questions, tell her the answers will come when she reaches the rank of Chunin. If she persists, send her to me, Hiruzen instructed firmly. No one else can know of this. If the Sharingan becomes public knowledge, the village council will use it as an excuse to turn her into a weapon. This time, Danzo won't hold back. He's already sent his operatives to assess her skills today. I'll keep a close watch on the situation. Understood, Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied with a determined nod. I'll train her personally. She'll be joining the academy next year with her friends. I want her to have a normal childhood, surrounded by those who genuinely care for her. But I'll also ensure she doesn't rely too much on the Sharingan. Hiruzen leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. I'll have to inform Jiraiya.